If you hear geese squawks in the middle of this video, try not to mind it that much. The geese was beeping before I even got here, and I don't even know why. This is going to be a video that is uncut, very raw. The moment I finish recording it, I'm just going to upload it to YouTube. So expect nothing in this video that will dazzle you. And from the title, you already know what this topic is about. It is about the recent elementary school shooting that happened in Texas. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I have a perspective that I would want to share with the world. And depending on how you might feel about this video, whatever drew you to this video to tap on it, I just hope that this perspective can reach you in a way that's understandable, in a way that broadens your own perspective. And I also want y'all to know that the comments are open for us to talk about this. But also let's be respectful and let's be mindful of people who are in mourning and people who have been personally affected by these incidents. I'm not going to really recount the events that happened, but something that really shocks me most is that obviously the school shooting was at an elementary school. So children that were, I believe, all under the ages of 10, some faculty. And one of the pressing matters is that we need to protect our children. We need to protect this next generation. Children shouldn't have to go to school with the worry that something bad could happen to them. And I feel like we also disregarded that the shooter was also a child. I'm 21 and I'm still a baby. This shooter was 18 years old, hasn't even touched life yet, hasn't even experienced the world. We need to protect our children, not just in a way that keeps them from physical harm, but in a way that helps them heal from emotional hurt and keeps them from emotional harm. I think there are two conversations that really need to be had in this current situation that we're in. One that relates to gun violence, those who are able to have access to these weapons. That is not something that I'm going to be talking about today. That is not my concern. My concern is the mental health crisis that the United States specifically is facing. The United States is specifically the United States is suffering from. Looking at all these statistics, didn't really want to flood my consciousness too much with what was going on because it's just so heartbreaking. But it's not surprising that the United States has had so many mass shootings and so many school shootings. When I think about how we are just so unaware of mental health, how I feel like we're just so driven by consistent work, by consistent grind, by consistent getting to the breach, that we don't take the time to be aware of ourselves and how we feel, and then on top of that, be aware of others and how they feel. The reason I say this is a mental health crisis is because I believe it takes a lot out of a person to muster up the feelings or the state of mind to want to harm people, children for that matter, unsolicited, people that they don't even know. I think about the hurt that this 18-year-old was going through. I think about what were his pains and struggles, what was happening with him. Not to say that it excuses his actions, but to say that we have to get to the root of the issue. When I also reflect on to the Columbine, which was one of the first instances that we'd ever seen where someone would walk into a school and shoot people that they did know, they were also kids. 16, 17, I believe. It's like, where are we missing? What are we missing? Where can we mend the bridge? I feel like some of us might be angry towards the shooter. We might be upset. R.I.P. him, because he is no longer with us. And I feel like if he was with us, I feel like we would have more anger, more let's punish him. He needs to learn that what he did was wrong. I feel like more of us would point the finger than question what made him do that. We live in a culture that is focused on cancellation, that is focused on revenge, that is not based on compassion. Because I believe that even in these instances where people are hurt, we have to understand, like, we have to have compassion still, because anger and hate is not getting us anywhere. Not to say that those emotions and those feelings are not valid. They're valid and they should be expressed. But there is a deeper root to the issue. My issue is, these are children, the children who are survivors, the faculty who are survivors. I don't know why children are getting interviewed. I don't know why 10-year-olds are getting interviewed the day of, the day after, the week of a traumatic event happened. For a news story, they're a 10 or 12-year-old. These children should not be in a state where they're here talking about the events that happened openly just because it was something that, the world is aware of. These events... I told y'all they was beefing before I even got here. If the conversation was getting heavy, I hope that provided comedic relief. Oh, because I was shooketh. But like I was saying, I don't feel like a 10 or 12-year-old should be put in a position where they have to explain the events that had happened to them. Even though the world knows about this, and we're scared for our own children, we're scared for our own schools, these events happen to them. People should deal with their trauma how they want to, not the way that we think that they should. And it's like, again, we are disregarding the mental aspect that goes into this. How people are affected, honoring, the survivors and their space right now. Shouldn't really have to be, police reports and all, but I just feel like we do a really terrible job at protecting our children, at protecting their experience of the world. We disregard bullying as something that impacts children heavily because those are traumatic experiences too. We disregard how environment and upbringing impacts mentally children and how they grow up and how their perspective of life is shaped and warped. I just really want to share my perspective and again reiterate how none of these events are acceptable. There's a conversation that does need to be had about guns and regulation, but again, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that we need to protect our kids, and the shooter was also a kid, and I think that we need to do something as a people, as a society, to make sure that the people that's in our community are okay. Because obviously, the 18-year-old boy, the 18-year-old child, because he was a child, was not okay. To the point where he grew into this state of wanting to harm people. We could stop the gun violence in a way. We could mend the issue that way. But I think, what if it wasn't a gun? What if it was, a different weapon? Obviously, no, maybe he wouldn't have hurt so many people. But the conversation is, how do we minimize people's hurt? But how do we eradicate it? How do we get people to a state of living that they don't feel that, they have, where there's just not so much stress on the body to want to express that in violent ways. The reason why I say America doesn't surprise me is because in a society that's so driven by capitalism, that's so driven by money, that's so driven by work, which aren't real values, and how, whenever you ask someone, oh, how are you doing? It's really not, I really want, I'm interested, and this is something you can share in the comments, but I feel like we live in a culture where when we see people we haven't seen in a long time, it's like, oh, what are you up to? What do you do for work? How have you been using your free time? And we're kind of really evaluating if this person has been productive, if this person has been, doing something deemed notable of their time, instead of asking, how are you? How's the family? Just what have you been doing to make yourself happy? What hobbies are you interested in now? We don't really care about people. We just care how they can contribute to a working machine, which is America, which is, in my opinion, just horrible. I'm not surprised that people just are overwhelmed and are dealing with mental health issues, are dealing with mental sickness, and mental health, mental sickness, mental illness. Those are real things, even though they can't be seen. My mom experiences mental illness, and I can tell you firsthand that even though it is an illness that cannot be seen, it is an illness that can be felt. And this boy's mental illness was felt. It was felt in a horrible, 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 horrible way. And my heart and my condolences go out to every parent who is personally suffering. Not to the people who have worries, because the people who have worries but you're okay, you have the ability to do something. Stop worrying. Stop being, actually, I'm not even going to tell you how to feel. Feel everything. And once those feelings have surfaced, and once you're able to sit down with those feelings, I just ask yourself the question, how can I make sure the people around me, how can I check up on the people around me, and how can I make sure the people around me are doing okay? Simple as that. Yeah. Again, my comment section is open to conversation. Let's be respectful. Let's be mindful. But I just really hope that this perspective touches a few people, if not just one, on the importance of mental health and the crisis that we're going through in America and how much needs to be done. It is always peace, it is always light, and it is always love from me to you. Thank you for watching.